Hello, and welcome to my humble abode, aka my overpriced apartment here in LA. Today we're doing an apartment tour. So if you aren't familiar with my page, I'm very much into themed everything, and my apartment is basically like a theme park, except instead of rides, we get questionable design choices, and that's exactly what this is. It's just anything I have an interest in coming to life. So welcome to the most unhinged apartment tour you will probably ever see. Let's do it. So first up, we've got my living room, which is Bridgerton Regency era inspired, and you're gonna have to bear with me on the sound here because it's pouring outside. Never rains here, we've got rain. So this room was actually inspired by a room at the Warwick Castle, like right outside of London. I saw it and I instantly just felt drawn to that design style, and I also love ornate detailing. I just love anything vintage as well, and a lot of those pieces are relatively easier to find than new modern pieces, so it just fit right into everything I had an interest in. But my living room specifically, I decided to go with this style because I wanted it to feel light, bright, and airy, and because this was my largest space in the room I would be spending the most time in, it was very important to me that it was the brightest. Now, just to keep in mind, I did do videos making over each room I am showing here. So if you're interested in checking out those individual videos to see what I did and how I brought these rooms to life, feel free to do so. And every single room in my apartment has been done on a budget. Everything is like DIY budget friendly. Okay, so a couple of things have changed in this living room since I posted my makeover video here, and that is these wings back here. So these wings back here were actually thrown away. I found them in a trash because they were ripped on the back, and I just fixed it. Like, what? And I brought them home, and I was like, you know what? I just need to display these. You're gonna see that I have another pair of wings in my room as well, because for some reason, displaying wings on a wall is like the coolest thing in my opinion, because it's not a decor item you would expect to see on a wall. It's a very unique shape. It sticks out, it has texture. And these lights, by the way, don't get hot. I would never put a light next to feathers that get hot for obvious reasons. And the light that's in front of it, I thrifted off of Facebook Marketplace. $5, guys, $5 for this, and I just installed it onto the wall. My sweet kitty is sitting on the couch, so I'm just gonna leave her. Hi, baby. This piece of furniture right here, I got from an estate sale, 20 bucks for this. I put this here as a drop zone because when I moved into this apartment from a house, I started to realize that I would leave my stuff in certain areas of the house and I needed to create drop zones in order to stop the clutter from accumulating. So this was my drop zone for my keys, my bag, my jacket, anything like that. This couch is one of the very few pieces that are not thrifted. This was actually sent to me by a sponsor, and I wanted to mix in some modern pieces into my space just because it is a little unrealistic to think that I could find everything vintage. I wanted a Victorian couch, and I still plan to get one at some point in the future, but it's much easier to get a couch that is new. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that this had a bit of mid-century modern look to it, and it was so clean and like structured that I actually liked the mix of vintage with this couch, and also the color palette. It works perfectly in this space. And I never thought I would be a light couch girly until now, but I love it. So these picture frames also got from an estate sale. I believe it was $22 for both. And I've always wanted these frames specifically because these frames, guys, you will actually see in art museums, and I've actually seen them in London. And so when I saw them, I marked it in my brain that I'm gonna get this for my apartment in the future, and I just thought they were so elegant, and I ended up finding them. And they're actually a lot easier to find than you think. I see these frames at estate sales literally all the time. Also, I know it's not a typical thing to make your picture frames tall on a really large wall, but I did this because it is actually mirroring the opposite side of the wall, which you will see here in a second. And I also thought it made the room feel taller because there are quite a few things in this living room that are very tall and the ceilings are short. So look, it might not be technically correct, but it feels right to me, and every time I look at it, I love it. Alrighty, so there are quite a few things that happened in this living room to bring it to life. The first thing being proper lighting, because there was no overhead light in here, which made it feel really dark, and I did not just want lamps. I thought that adding a chandelier to this space really gave it a Regency vibe, and I got this one from Amazon and installed it. It's not hardwired, and I got a swag kit so I could plug it into a wall. And originally I had a chandelier in this space that was much larger, so there's actually a way that you can look up the correct dimensions for a chandelier in a space. And I got the proper one, but it was unfortunately way too heavy for the ceiling. So I had to take it down and get a smaller one. So this is not the correct size. And in person, walking into the room, I can instantly tell it's too small. But it's just what I had to make work because I wanted a chandelier, but I needed it to be under a certain amount of weight just because this building was like built in the 40s, and the drywall in the ceiling is so thin and old. I just did not want the other chandelier with real crystals to just rip a hole through the ceiling and fall. There's nothing I could do. We just made it work. Another thing that I replaced in this space was the curtains. I had blinds when I moved in, and like if you could do anything in a space right when you move in is replace your light fixtures and replace the blinds and just get curtains, like floor to ceiling curtains. Every time I walk into this space with the curtains, it makes it feel like an elegant hotel. So over in this area right here, wow, I just squat down so low, but like for what? This is a thrifted piece right here, $5. I opted for this instead of a coffee table because I'm not a fan of coffee tables. I think they're a waste of space, and I work in my living room on my computer all the time, and I cannot be bending over to use a computer on a coffee table. Like it's way too low, it's bad for my back. This makes more sense to me. I can fold it up, I can put it away, I can use it as a table for my computer, I can eat off of it, and I can use it for coffee and put it on the side. It's more versatile, and I can also use all of the floor space in my living room to do like a workout, stretch, like, you know what I mean? It's the only space in my apartment that is large enough for all of that. So why would I take up the living room with a coffee table? I really don't understand the purpose behind it. This piece right here, also thrifted. This piece, IKEA. See, I have a few, newer items sprinkled in there. Now this luggage, I have all of my Harry Potter costumes in. I got this from a clothing swap, and I use this as a little cat perch. So I put fur on it. So this is for her. One of the ugliest things in this living room, besides the blinds, was the fact that it had this hideous air conditioning unit, which is behind this piece that I DIY'd. This is all made of recycled wood. You can watch the full makeover of this living room to see what it took to bring this to life, but it was a lot of puzzle pieces to bring it together to make it look like this. But if there's one thing I can suggest you do in a older apartment that has these, is to cover them, because literally no one wants to look at them and they're never attractive. And yeah, I have another cat perch. I just got this little thing in the window for my cat, and it's not aesthetic, but we're just gonna act like that's not there. And this chair I thrifted as well, Facebook Marketplace. The twin is in my bedroom, and it was $100 for both. Now, one of the best features in my living room would have to be my TV cover, which is this tapestry right here. So I knew I wanted a TV, mostly for my cat to watch stuff when I wasn't home, but I do not like the way TVs look. Look at this black box on the wall. It's the most distracting thing. I don't like the idea when you walk into a room, you see this right away. It's kind of like the air conditioning unit, except you willingly put this in your space for people to see all the time. So I looked into a frame TV, and those were way out of my budget. And not to mention, it's like in photos and stuff, it looks cool, but in person, you can still kind of tell it's a TV. Like, you have one main option, and that is to build a portrait wall around it to disguise it as artwork, but you can tell it's not artwork, but it helps a little. I was just like, there has to be another way where I don't have to spend $1,000 and it's still not amazing. So this is what I came up with. I found online that you could make like a box, kind of like my air conditioning unit cover, to put over it. That was too difficult of a project for me. Lots of different options I found online. If you look them up, you will find them, okay? But the best one I found that actually worked really well in my space, specifically because I was going for the Regency era, was a tapestry. And tapestries are something that you would see in castles anyways, because it's something that they use for warmth in the space and obviously for decoration as well. So I just put a curtain rod above the TV, attach that tapestry to it, and when I'm not using the TV, I pull it down and cover it up and it's just a piece of artwork. This is the piece that mirrors the artwork on the other side of the wall. So it really has the same height in the living room on both sides of the wall. So it feels symmetrical to me. I also put a portrait light above it to make it feel even more like artwork. And I also love bringing unique lighting into my space besides just like your basic lamp or your basic overhead light. I think unique lighting is a way to make your space feel more interesting. And these for me, some of my favorite, like wall sconces in general, I'm sure you can already tell I love them. So really good hack for covering a TV. Another huge part of this living room is obviously the palm tree. I thrifted this for $12. This palm tree is 8 feet tall. I could actually make it taller. I really liked the fact that it was very large. I think it makes the space feel larger because of its size. So I decided to keep it and make it work in the space. I also love bringing plants into a home. And, you know, around the Regency period, you would see palm trees. So it actually works really well. It is on theme. I just love it. It takes up a really good amount of space, and this would have been entirely empty anyways. It's like, what would I have put here? I love bringing some life into the space. Even if it's a fake plant, I'm a big fan of fake plants. And then everything here, for the most part, thrifted. Yeah, so I got this piece. Someone was giving it away for free. Facebook Marketplace. This Burlington Coat Factory. All my books, free. Got them for free. Plants, IKEA. Chessboard I actually use. I have it on display because okay, so the rule of thumb with me is if I own something, it has to be on display. I can't have it put away. If I have it put away, I need to get rid of it because why would I fill my cabinets and closets with clutter of stuff I don't actually use? Unless it's clothing, that's a little different. Clothing, shoes, yeah. Decor related things, if I can put it on display, it has to be on display. So that's why this is here. And I made everything very symmetrical because if you look at traditional design, very symmetrical. And back here, I'm sure you've noticed, but this wall I painted it below the chair rail. And this chair rail was originally from my picture frame molding. When I came into this space, I realized that the dimensions of that would not fit on the walls. So instead, I tested out making chair rail, and ironically, it lined up perfectly from edge to edge. I don't know how this happened. So when I realized I was able to reuse this, of course I had to. Now moving on to this area over here, I put a mirror. I wanted this to reflect any light that possibly came through the room. It's also a very convenient spot for looking at your outfit before you go out into the world. And I got this from Facebook Marketplace. I got the wall sconces, Facebook Marketplace as well. And I also have LED candle tapers that come with a remote. They flicker. They can just be a light or they can flicker. I keep those on at night for, again, a really good lighting option. And I really could not recommend, you know, a better lighting option than these candle tapers right here, because candle tapers are a little sketchy. And another thing that I did is I added some ornate details. I got these wooden decals, and again, to the people that have corrected me that these are not called wooden decals, I am just repeating the name of the exact item I bought online. I just stuck them on here using my alien tape, which is my go-to tape, and I just painted it gold, and I thought it gave it shape. It also gave it a little bit more of a Regency vibe as opposed to just being this rectangular mirror, which is not Regency at all. It's not. Next we have my 1920s kitchen, which is inspired by Bioshock, the video game. I did look at some of the concept art behind that game in order to bring this to life. So this was the first room that I made over in my apartment. I instantly had a vision for it. I had always wanted a 1920s kitchen, and when I started remaking everything in this apartment, I did not intend to move. I figured I would be living here for a really long time, guys. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case now. So that's why there's so much invested into this, and that's why every single room is redone. Oh, look, there's the camera. Again, you see that portrait light on the wall, battery operated. I've got the frames. I also got some other thrifted items like this floral curtain. I didn't know if this was gonna match, but I thought, okay, if it's a 1920s home, it's gonna have prior decades mixed in. So I kept this here. So here I have my little tea plates that match my cups. I have my little container for tea. It actually does hold my tea in here, along with a teapot, some florals, some feathers. Yeah, thrifted the mirror, $8, added this decal at the top, and I just spray painted it gold. Now, this wall back here, I actually DIY'd with a Sharpie. And then I just, got some prints that have Art Deco inspired art in them. And lastly, to incorporate some green onto the other side of the room, I painted my fridge green. Unfortunately, this fridge did end up breaking about a week after I had completed this kitchen. So sadly, I now have a fridge that's white, but I wanted to show you what it looked like before because it just was perfect. And this decor item, I changed it up a little bit recently. I added some flowers, but this item I actually used in my Gryffindor common room makeover. I thrifted this piece to use as a window inside of the castle. I'm sure you can tell it looks very Harry Potter. And if you want to check out that makeover that I did, highly recommend if you love Harry Potter, because it turned out pretty good. And a more recent addition to this space is I actually put up this little curtain along with flowers and stuff because again, spring, and it just looks super cute over here. And it's not technically Art Deco, I know. But I just did it, and I'm not gonna take it down and say it's not there because it's there. But another new addition is I started hanging my teacups underneath the cabinet, and these match the plates that I have displayed over there on my shelves. It really adds to the whole vibe of the kitchen being 1920s. Also, fun fact, one of the reasons I wanted to move in this apartment was because of the checkerboard floor. Obviously, it matches 1920s perfectly. I don't think that I could have chosen a better kitchen to do this makeover in, so it worked really, really well. But something about older apartments is the fact that the outlets are very limited. So I did have to put my microwave in this cabinet. I found the perfect cabinet that resembled 1920s, a little bit more mid-century modern here. And I got a little retro microwave that fits perfectly into this, and it has a little bit of storage. Look at that. Just a good way to hide the microwave. It still fits the theme, and it also matches my vintage toaster as well. It's not actually vintage, it just looks vintage. And I got all these items on Amazon, and I love them. Like, if I'm gonna have normal appliances and they're gonna be on display, they better look aesthetic. And then this furniture was, well, the chairs were gifted to me from a sponsor. They are very essential to the 1920s. There is a bit of history behind them, and the reason I chose them is because it's like the staple 1920s chair. Another thing that you would see in 1920s homes were marble. I do have some marble on that little cabinet with the microwave. And then I got this marble table. It is fake marble, Facebook Marketplace, $20. And I don't know if you caught this, but I did paint some, fake chair rail here using black paint, and yeah, just a little something extra instead of just painting the entire wall green. And these mirrors, I just DIY'd, I painted them, and I got them from the 99-cent store. And I've got one up here too. And then the last thing, I forget the proper name for this light, but I got this light for $12 from, I'm just gonna say it, it's from Temu, guys. $12 for a light fixture. You cannot beat it. And then I painted a green kind of medallion style circle up there as well. I could have done geometric, but I didn't. We just did that. Yeah. All right, so now that you've seen my 1920s kitchen, let's move into the space hallway. So this is my space hallway. If you don't know, I'm an artist, space art specifically. That's why everything in this hallway is space. And this is just all my artwork that's either in the works or pieces I'm just not willing to part with. Again, as I mentioned before, if it has to be stored away, I can't keep it. And I had this entire hallway, and I was like, I'm just gonna put every single piece of artwork I can fit in here on the wall. So this is my space hallway. Now let's move on into one of my favorite makeovers I've ever done in the history of all of my makeovers, and that is my spaceship office / art studio. Okay, let's go. I have it a little dark in here just so you can see, but this is one of the sickest rooms I've ever created in my entire life. It is 90% made of recycled materials. All the foam that you see behind me on the walls, I got from a piece of furniture to create dimension and make it look more like a spaceship interior. I also made a plexiglass star map, which is also from something I thrifted. It was a big picture frame that had that on the inside. So I used that to create a star map, and then I used the frame in the bathroom. So I really utilized that frame in so many different ways in different areas of my home. And even the base of this, you can see, is made of foam as well. And the entire thing jerry-rigged. Like most of the things in my apartment, you will come to realize when you watch the makeovers individually that everything is jerry-rigged. Like from the front looks amazing, from the back you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? I'm actually holding up this piece of plexiglass using a shelf that attaches to a bottom of a desk that you screw on, and that is how I got this to hold up. I could not think of it any other way. And I also tried to use anything and everything I owned. I did not go out and buy things to make this come to life. I used things I already owned, and that's what I always do for the most part in my home. Before I go out and buy something new, I will bring to life anything I can using stuff I already have. So I wanted this office to feel like a testing lab and a spaceship. That was kind of my inspiration behind it. I'm a huge fan of anything sci-fi, and I've always wanted to live in a futuristic home. And this was just a step towards making that happen in a DIY way. And I think it turned out really, really nicely. It turned out much better than I thought. And even like standing here, this feels like an exit door of a spaceship. And this really does feel like a star map when I look at it. This is also my audition tape for Disney to hire me to start working at Galaxy's Edge and start designing themed worlds, because please let me work on the Empire ship or something. Like I'll do a Rebel ship too. That's my next project. I'm gonna do an aged ship, like the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, so I really thought of like a Empire ship interior. I was thinking of the movie Passengers, but essentially I was thinking of a lab on the inside of a spaceship and what that would look like. Something that I knew I absolutely had to create was this hydroponic garden wall. And initially when I thought of doing this space, I wanted an entire wall to be covered with this alone. I soon realized it was very expensive to make this. Like this was, I think, $70 to make this just for the pipe. A lot bigger of a project than I had anticipated, which is why I opted for this smaller piece. And then when I got all that free foam from the furniture I had bought, I was like, how can I use the foam to bring this to life? Because I can't just throw this away. Sometimes I see things and I realize, wait, what am I doing? This is not trash. Yeah, but this hydroponic garden wall, it really did take a lot to try to bring this to life. It might look like, oh wow, this looks super easy. No, there was a lot of missing components to actually make it stay on the wall that I did not consider when I made it. But we got it to stay. I found the perfect little plants to fit into the holes that I had drilled, and they're all from IKEA. I love it. It really does look like a hydroponic garden. It gives me spaceship vibes. It's my favorite section of the room. And again, we've got the foam on the wall. I don't know what I could have done differently to make this any better. Hands down, one of the most creative makeovers I've ever done. And for the window treatments, I just decided to keep the blinds. I could not think of a more futuristic option for a window because curtains make no sense. So I just kept this, and I really like it. And of course my spaceship wall with my space window, all created using recycled foam. This was from the chandelier that was in my living room. This is what the chandelier came in, this piece of foam. That's how big the chandelier was. And I saw this piece of foam and I just thought, like, again, I can't throw this away. I think I can do something with this. And looking out into space and like seeing stars, it reminded me of like Space Mountain. You know, when you're walking through the line and you're waiting and you can see the space out in the distance. I kind of wanted to create something like that. This is obviously not as cool, I know. I actually got LEDs, like little fairy lights. I glued them to a piece of cardboard and I put a tapestry on top of it. So during the day you can see the stars because it is a star tapestry. And then at night I can turn it on and it looks like this. Another interesting thing is that all of my lights actually light up on my foam. There was a lot of challenges that presented itself doing this project, but I think that I made it work the best that I could. And I do think that painting some of these like little panels gray kind of gives it like a Star Trek-y vibe. It's kind of like an aged spaceship, not as futuristic as I would like, as the other side of the room is just all white foam. I really liked that, but when I had done it, it just wasn't enough, and I really wanted it to give the vision of a spaceship as much as I could. So I tried my best, and I think that it turned out fantastic. Like if I do it again in the future, I think I know what I'll do differently, but for having all free foam and just arranging it on the wall and it somehow making sense, I think I did a decent job. Disney, please hire me. Like, interview me at least. Let me intern for someone. Okay. All right, welcome to my Victorian bathroom. You know, I still wanted the busy wallpaper in here that would reflect a Victorian wallpaper, which was lots of like nature. I did look up a Victorian wallpaper that was pretty similar to this vibe, which is why I chose this one. And I did go with a lighter color because I just wanted it to be brighter in here. So this is the picture frame from the plexiglass that is in my Spaceship office. And so again, I utilized that frame that I had thrifted in many different ways by putting the frame here behind this mirror and using the plexiglass in that room to make a star map. On this mirror, I added some ornate details that are wooden decals, and I painted them gold. I put them on with alien tape. I did not glue them because I know I can reuse them on other objects. And so if I don't want to use this frame in this way again, I can take them off and I can put those details somewhere else. And the reason I put the frame around the mirror is because this mirror is just hideous. I looked at buying a different mirror and kind of putting it on top and having it hang. Too dangerous of an option, just it wouldn't work. So this was kind of my way of disguising it in the most creative way I could and inexpensive way. Can't go wrong. And I can still open this perfectly. It does not touch the frame at all. Another item in this bathroom that I utilized in many ways is the shower curtain and the curtains back here. So you might notice they are exactly the same. I have used these curtains as curtains. I've used them as capes while LARPing. I have used them as a DIY bed canopy, and I've also used them as a shower curtain. I've used them in many different ways. It's very hard for me to get rid of things sometimes because I always find a way to utilize something again, and this was no exception. This ended up fitting as a shower curtain perfectly. So having a sheer curtain was essential because there is no light. If I had a, light blocking curtain, it would be a little difficult to see if I was showering. And also it would feel as if you're walking into a wall when you enter the bathroom because it would be light blocking. So I wanted it to be sheer so I could actually see through it a little bit. Yeah, so that is why I chose the curtains that I did. And also just to know, I think shower curtains are hideous for the most part. And you can also use curtains instead of shower curtains and just put a liner on the opposite side. And if you're wondering about the light fixture, everyone was like, oh, you should have replaced the light fixture. The reason I did not replace it is because there is a giant hole behind the covering of that light, and it's way too big for a normal base to cover. It is the shape of this. I would have to find something with the same shape. Way too difficult considering I buy all vintage. So I just didn't change it. I hate the light too. There's just some things you just can't replace in apartments when you don't own it, you know what I mean? So to everyone that was like, oh, the light fixture ruined the bathroom, there's literally nothing I can do, and I think the bathroom still looks great. All of the other decor items that you see in here, for the most part, all thrifted. Like the hook I got from my dad's place before it was torn down, along with the toilet paper holder. And all this stuff on this wall back here, I rub and buffed a mirror that I got from the 99-cent store before they went out of business. And I just have a few other items that I have just had passed down to me. And my pride and joy of this whole entire bathroom is indeed the toilet seat cover, which I put a peel and stick wallpaper on. I didn't realize you could do that until I did it, and it turned out wonderfully. And something that you'll see in Victorian bathrooms is a lot of wood, a lot of dark wood. And I wanted to bring that in as much as I could, so I changed the cabinet color to a dark wood using peel and stick wallpaper. I made the shelf on the back of the wall a dark wood as well, and then I also added that toilet seat cover, and I also have other darker wood tones in here too, along with like the cabinet and the picture frame. Yeah, I brought in dark accents anywhere that I could. Fun fact about the wallpaper in here, I was working with a company that sent me this wallpaper. After I had received the wallpaper, I realized I had some pieces missing, and they had switched social media managers and unfortunately never got back to me about the missing parts. So I had already put up the wallpaper and I was like, I'm not taking it down. So what I did is I just decided I'm gonna make this work, figure it out, and I painted in the details from the wallpaper onto the actual wall, which I really didn't want to do. It's gonna be more work when I move, but I already did so much and invested so much time into doing this that I had to do it. And honestly, it looks pretty sick. It turned out really well. It really does look like the wallpaper is coming onto the white. I made the best of a situation, you know? And I was really scared to put a busy wallpaper into a room, but I was like, if I'm gonna try it, it needs to be in a small space where it's not too overwhelming. But I will say, putting busy wallpaper into a small space, it does make it feel a lot larger. It's almost like it confuses your eye to make it feel as if the wall is farther away. And this bathroom was entirely white before, and it feels way bigger now than it did then. It's really bizarre how it works, but it works. I swear, it works. I'm gonna say it right now, this room is an amalgamation of everything else that I had in storage that I realized if I can't hang it on a wall or display it in some way, I have to get rid of it. So I just decided to display everything. Yeah, so I call this room like a dark academia, like a whimsical dark academia room. I don't know. But again, it's just kind of everything that I didn't know what to do with, and this is it. So this is my little reading corner right here. I obviously have a ton of books. I do a lot of reading, and it's really hard for me to part with books that I love. This room though, I used this bed sheet to create a faux wallpaper. It's just nailed on the wall. I also put this mirror here that I got gifted to me, and it's so beautiful. It reflects the light from these windows over here. And this is really just my little reading nook. Like everything is thrifted or gifted or free. Free meaning I found it on the side of the road. I'm sure if you've been following me for a bit, you will notice similar items from home to home, and it's because like I don't get rid of everything. I do keep some things that I feel are hard to find. Those pieces stay with me always. As you can tell over here, I have wings on the wall. Those are my Saltburn wings from my costume that I spray painted gold. And do you see what I'm talking about? It's like the coolest decor item you could really put on a wall. I swear I'm gonna make a movement with this because I already have a friend, my bestie, who put 2 pairs of wings on her wall in her home, and they look insane. I don't know what to tell you. It's just facts. So because this was so tall, I knew I kind of had to match the height over here as well. It felt weird not matching that height. So I put the picture frame up there. It works really well. I have some other decor items up there as well, along with, you know, usable items that I use, like a hat, some horns for a costume, like my swords. Just everything has to be displayed. And like, look at this freaking LARP sword. I also have this sword displayed on the wall. This one I don't have on the wall just yet. I'm not entirely sure where to put it. I think I'm gonna put it in the living room, but I just got this one in the mail, so it's been sitting here for now. But this is my official LARP sword. And this is my bedroom corner. I have all of my swords over here. I also got a little like hue light in my lamp to change the lighting up. I put up all of these vines, which I travel with always, because I'm telling you, if you move a lot or you want a decor item that takes up minimal space but makes a big impact, it would be vines and flowers, because that crushes down to nothing and it looks the same every time you pull it out. Absolutely love it. I always do something with the vines in every home I've lived in, and my favorite thing is over the bed. I've done it in a past room, and it is just so magical to just look up and see florals hanging above your head. And no, there's no spiders there, guys. And people ask me, how do you clean it? I mean, I suppose that maybe over the years dust would accumulate, but I don't notice dust on them. If I look at it, literally is no dust on it. And I put all of these up just using packaging tape. Depending on what type of paint is on your walls, though, if you have like a latex-based paint, probably won't hold. It'll probably come right off, but these are actually matte walls, so it sticks really, really well. Wisteria hanging from the ceiling. I put those up with weather strip nails. I've done it in the past using tape, but I just decided to use weather strip nails. I also installed LED lights in the vines as well to kind of give the illusion of fireflies. It also gives me a Pandora from Avatar. It's such a little special room. I love it. I'm always at peace in this space. And for my bed sheets, I just keep it simple. Every time I design a room, I'm so tempted to get like a crazy bedspread. But the thing is, it's really hard to design a room around a crazy bedspread when you move a lot. I would really have to think about what's gonna match my bedspread now. So I always just opt for a simple bedspread like this. And this is from Brooklyn, and I swear it's one of my favorite ever, like my duvet covers ever. It's so, like, the more you wash it, the softer it is. That is it for everything in my apartment. It's a little bit like Epcot, not as much money put into it. I don't have guests come through here literally ever. I'm the only one enjoying this theme park here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it inspires you to do something similar in your place, because I think the fun thing about having adult money is that you can actually turn your space into whatever you literally want. It doesn't have to look like mid-century modern. It doesn't have to look like this, this, and this. It can be whatever you want. Thanks for checking this out. If you want to check out the individual makeovers, they will all be listed below. I'll also put some at the end of the video so you can see them there, and I have a playlist for it. I mean, yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for being here, hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.